Behind me is the Nintendo Switch, a console that has been out for 8 years, but Nintendo still hasn't fixed its biggest problems. And with the Switch's life coming to an end, we're breaking down the 20 biggest things still wrong with it. Some of these issues you probably didn't know about or notice, and some of these issues we've all dealt with. Starting with the bad Nintendo eShop. The Nintendo eShop, everyone's favorite place to buy games. You browse the eShop in your comfy home, pick a game, purchase it, and it downloads right to your system. Sounds like the dream. Unfortunately, the eShop sucks. First things first, I talk about using the eShop if you can. The eShop is the laggiest thing I've ever used. Not even Webkins back in 2009 was this bad. There are multiple sections in the eShop, things like featured, recent releases, great deals, and when you scroll through those pages or even go on a page and just scroll through all the games, it is the slowest experience of all time, and I don't remember any previous Nintendo store on any console being like this. There's times where I want to browse the eShop, but decide not to because of how slow it is. And also speaking about the eShop, it is flooded with games that you do not want to see. Go to recent releases and it won't be too long until you see some AI inappropriate games. We're not gonna show them, but if you want, you can go look for yourself. It won't take too long. And then a feature that was removed from previous Nintendo consoles on the eShop is the rating system. Back in the previous generation of Nintendo, you could go on the eShop, look at a game, and see actual ratings out of 5 stars from people who have bought the game. I mean, this is no harm. If the AI games I was talking about are actually that bad, you would know. You could see people left it 1-star ratings. That didn't hurt anybody. It would give the customer an idea of what they're buying. The whole shop feels outdated, clunky, not good at all. That's the first problem. We have a lot more to get to though. Nintendo. It was 2017. You released the Nintendo Switch. This is a time where everybody else, social media, PlayStation, Xbox, is already on to using usernames for social medias. You don't make a username on Nintendo Switch and give it to your friends so then they can add you and play with you. Nintendo has you give people a 12-digit friend code. I want to stand up and start pacing around my room. What was the thought process? I remember there was one time I was on the school bus back in 5th or 6th grade, and I wanted to add this kid on Nintendo Switch. He had to go home and write out his 12-digit friend code and give it to me. If we had usernames, it wouldn't be a problem. I'm getting fired up. Like, why can't my Switch username be mswizzle? You type it in, you add me. There was no reason for this, but it happened. Now let's talk about what is near and dear to my heart: customization. This device right here, my friends, is a fine creation called the Nintendo 2DS XL. It's a 3DS, 2DS, same thing. Nintendo's previous console. This had so much customization to it. However, on the Switch, the things that made the 3DS and even the Wii U unique are not on here. Sure, you have themes on Nintendo Switch, but you only have 2, basic white or basic black. The 3DS would have special menu music based on which theme you picked. Pick a special Mario theme for your 3DS, it'll play some Mario music. The Switch is as dead as can be. What was also cool about the Wii, Wii U, 3DS, DS is you could reorder your games on the home menu. You can do that on Switch, but not the way you want. You can sort it by time last played, by how much playtime you have, by alphabetical order, and by the publisher alphabetical order. You can't put the games in the order that you want. And then a few years ago, Nintendo introduced groups, where you can kind of make folders for your games, but not how we wanted. On the 3DS and the Wii U, you can make a folder on the home menu, put all your games in there, and they won't flood up and clog your home menu, if that makes sense. You can make groups on Nintendo Switch, but all those games are still flooding the home menu. They added folders, but at what cost? The system is bare bones. That's bad. This is another thing that makes me think Nintendo is still stuck in the early 2000s or even earlier. If I take a fancy screenshot or a cool screen recording on my Nintendo Switch, guess how that gets to my phone? I have to go to my photo album, click share, I have to click send to smartphone, and scan 2 QR codes. Now, it's not a crazy hassle, but companies like PlayStation and Xbox have figured this out. On Xbox and PlayStation, all of these screenshots and videos that you take go right to your Xbox or PlayStation app. You can then go in there and download everything right away. No QR code scanning, no 12-digit friend codes, it's easy. Nintendo has an app, why can't you make it work? Nintendo apparently likes to leave what made them iconic. Mii's. On the Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS, there was always a Mii Maker app on the home menu. You can enter it and do just that, make some Mii's. But unfortunately, on Nintendo Switch, this is in the settings. Now, this doesn't sound like a big problem, but when you have that long list of icons on the home menu, the Switch Online app, the News app, the eShop, you couldn't just put the Mii's right there? It's like you're trying to silence and get rid of Mii's. Speaking of that row of icons, the first one there, the Nintendo Switch Online app. This is just as bad as the eShop. It is as laggy, if not laggier than the eShop. And listen, the features are cool. If you pay for Nintendo Switch Online, it's nice to get some freebies and have a hub where you can see all of the new news. But can we talk about these Nintendo Switch Online icons? You know, I don't like to complain about free things, but if you look at some of these icons, these are not even icons. This is a bad example, but I can find way worse. There's an NES as an icon, and that's a bad example. Somebody may want an NES as their icon. I would want the Wii U as my icon. These are not meant to be icons. You want an icon of a character from the game, not mid-game screenshots or whatever these are. But once again, it's free icons, so can't complain too much. I can't believe this is not a thing. There is no way on the Nintendo Switch itself to message or voice chat anybody. I was talking about my friend from school who gave me his 12-digit friend code. How are we supposed to communicate? Now, on the Nintendo Switch Online mobile app, there is a way to voice chat, but bro, no one's using that. I guarantee you no one uses that consistently. Just use Discord or FaceTime or even Skype. You couldn't add like a little texting feature on the Switch? I mean, that would be great. You can say, hey, wanna play Mario Party Jamboree? And they would say no or yes. It's just a missed opportunity. Listen, I get this is a console from 2017. We gotta talk about the performance. Because yeah, it's a handheld, it might not be able to have the most power, but it's a problem when your own games don't run that amazingly and flawless on your own console. I'm talking about games like Zelda Echoes of Wisdom for a recent example. The game runs fine, but the amount of frame drops that you get while playing is disgusting. Now, if third-party games have that, whatever, but Nintendo games on your own system should be perfect. And I don't want to rip too hard. A lot of games like Splatoon 3 are perfect in terms of performance. Before Animal Crossing New Horizons, there were two Animal Crossing games on the TV, Animal Crossing for the GameCube and Animal Crossing City Folk, both of which were 60 frames per second. Animal Crossing New Horizons is 30. We have fallen here. So they can't fix that right now. Switch 2 is coming out, but Switch 2 better play Switch 1 and Switch 2 games with no problem. There is no built-in web browser on Nintendo Switch. Now, someone's gonna be quick to point out, Max, if you change your Wi-Fi settings, you actually can use a Switch web browser. You can do that, it's just not a built-in web browser. It can't be as good. The DS, the Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS all had web browsers, and you take it away with the Switch. Now, here's where we get into a theory. They might have taken it away, as this is sometimes how Nintendo consoles are hacked, but let's be real, Nintendo Switches are already being hacked. Whether you had a web browser or not would not change the outcome. This is what I had a problem with since day one of Nintendo Switch. So back on day one, I never had a Switch Pro controller or any good controller for the Switch. I only had the Joy-Cons. And if you want to play two-player with just the Joy-Cons, you have to play with one horizontally. I'm not even talking about this just being uncomfortable. How is anybody supposed to hit the SL and SR buttons? These things are tiny. And yes, it is a problem because Nintendo even knows that. That's why they made these straps for the Joy-Cons so that the buttons become bigger. They knew they were small. And that is why on these straps, Nintendo made the buttons bigger. So ever since the early days of Nintendo Switch, I have never deployed horizontal single Joy-Con mode, whatever you call it. Now we gotta talk Nintendo Switch internal storage. As you can see, I recently bought a PlayStation 5, and I'm not somebody who wants to buy more storage for it. But it's great, because that model of PS5 comes with 1 terabyte of storage. It works, but the most storage any Switch model has is the Switch OLED with 64 gigabytes. Sounds like a lot, but that'll only get you 5 to 7 Nintendo-made games before you run out of storage. And that doesn't sound bad either, but say that you want a sports game, a third-party game, and these are somewhat intense games, it goes faster. So it really isn't good. You're essentially forced to buy a micro SD card. And comparatively to the Switch's price, they're not that expensive, comparatively. It just adds on to the cost. You know, this wasn't an issue until about a week ago. Here is an original Nintendo Switch. This boy is 4 years old, and he just started having a fan problem. Let's see if I can trigger it. Oh my god, it's happening, it's happening. Listen for this. I don't know if you can hear that. The fan's making a sound. And dude, this thing is 4 years old. My Wii U has lasted longer with no problems. So now I have to worry about my Switch OLED having a similar problem. And I've seen this online so often, people I know have this problem. It's really not good. This is gonna be a short one because I can't complain too much, but I do have to complain. Nintendo Switch Online being a paid subscription. Now, I'm not one of those people who think it's a scam. I think it's rather worth it, and it's honestly pretty cool. However, it wasn't cool when we first heard the idea of it, because forever and always with the Wii, with the DS, with the 3DS, and the Wii U, Nintendo Online was always free. There was no payment ever needed. But then they began making us pay money every year to have online servers, which sucks, but can I call it a problem? Probably not, because it makes sense for them to do. PlayStation and Xbox do the same thing. If you want to play online on those consoles, you have to pay. They're just doing what their competitors do. It's become normal. But at the start of Switch, this was a problem for me. It sucked. Why do Nintendo Switch remasters cost full price? I bought Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U for full price, $60. It made sense then, but then to sell it on Switch for another $60, I feel is a crime for most of these cases. Look at Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Lovely game, but that's a Wii game coming to Switch. Guess how much money? $60. That's a better example. And then the argument is, well, if they add more content, it's probably worth full price. And yes, Donkey Kong did add the new funky mode, as you can see in the top right, but it's not enough to warrant full price. Most companies don't charge a full price for remasters. I don't like how Nintendo's doing the same. And if Switch 2 games cost $70, what does that mean for remasters? I'm terrified. So when I'm playing any Nintendo Switch game, you know, I'll hook up my controller, and let's say that the controller has half battery. I'll get to playing whatever game that I'm playing for about 10 minutes or so, and then the controller that I thought had half battery now has low battery. Why is this? Well, at least in my case, my controller might be broken. When you check the battery for a controller, it only tells you a little bit of information. It'll either say full battery, or it'll go down a little bit. It'll give you an estimate of how much battery it has. So if I have half battery, my Joy-Cons can at any point go to low battery, because it doesn't slowly tick down the battery. It just goes full battery, battery, half battery, low battery. If you show me the exact battery percentage, I will know that my controllers are low battery before you tell me they are low battery and they jump from halfway full down to low battery. This is gonna be a recurring thing in every single video. My hate for everybody want to Switch. My next problem is them releasing games like this. Now, I'm not saying that Nintendo has to release every single game being a 10 out of 10 perfect masterpiece game. My problem with this is that this sucks, but Nintendo knew it sucked, and then they still released it. And you probably think I'm joking. Here's a quote from TheGamer.com. According to a report from Fanbyte, this sequel has reportedly received such harsh feedback from playtesters that Nintendo no longer knows what to actually do with the game. Playtesters told them this game sucked and they still put it out. This cannot happen on the Switch 2. If a game sucks, you don't put it out, or you go back and fix something. We don't want to be scammed like this. I knew this game would suck, but I still bought it. I don't even want to be in that situation. If a game sucks and you know it, don't put it out. Now, the Nintendo Switch OLED fixed this problem, but what on earth is this kickstand on the Nintendo Switch? Man, I mean, it gets the job done. It makes your Nintendo Switch stand up, but it snaps off way too easy. If you use it too much, it'll fall out of place. Meaning, do you see when it clicks in like that? I had my old Switch and I used the kickstand so much, it would just fall out of place sometimes. This one thankfully hasn't because I never used this Switch. But how that thing passed quality control checks, I have no idea. I also have no idea how this was not the kickstand from the start. It makes so much more sense. It's a problem, and thankfully we can say the Nintendo Switch 2 will fix this. They're saving lives. Here's something I never understood. The Wii U, the 3DS, the DS, anything has always had the charging port on the top of the system. That way, if you want to charge the Wii U gamepad through this charging port here, you can put it on a stand and charge it via the top. It makes sense. But when you make a console with a kickstand, why would you put the charging port there as well? But Max, the Switch has to dock. It has to dock, so it needs the USB-C port there. I understand, but two things. Number one, the Switch 2 has a USB-C port on the top. The Switch 1 should have had this all along. It makes so much sense. And number two, I don't make consoles, but the Wii U had this little thing down here where you can charge it. I don't know how it works. You put it on a stand and it somehow charges it. Once again, I don't make consoles, but was that not possible with the dock? I don't know. Speaking of that dock, if you put your Switch in the Nintendo Switch dock, you have a high likelihood of scratching it. There are countless people who had this problem, especially early on in the Nintendo Switch's life. You put your Switch in somewhat carelessly, look at that, you have a few scratches on the screen. I mean, how this was not thought of is insane. And I feel like this was maybe fixed with the Switch OLED dock. I've never run into this problem before, but you're constantly inserting a screen against a surface. You would think they would make it smooth or something. And our final biggest problem, the one that you've most likely been waiting for me to bring up the entire video, my friends, we saved it for last. Joy-Con drift. So just casually using your Joy-Con and its control stick will get you a problem where you'll be playing Splatoon, Mario, anything, and your character just starts drifting away. Let's say that I'm playing Mario Odyssey and I want to walk straight, but I'm shifting kind of to the left. That's because of repeated use and bad design, my Joy-Cons are drifting. And once again, it is because of repeated use of the Joy-Con. How this has not been fixed at any point in the Switch's life is shocking. Not to get too into the weeds here, but a few years into the Nintendo Switch's lifetime, they released a V2 Nintendo Switch where it's the same Switch 1 model, but it's a little bit better. You couldn't have done something like that to the Joy-Cons? Nope, it's been 8 years and no Joy-Con drift solution. Now they'll probably fix it with Switch 2, but that's insane. It has never been fixed. Now that was 20 problems. I probably missed some, so comment down below which ones I missed. Click here for a video where I reviewed the entire Nintendo Switch's life. It is very spicy. Click here to subscribe to the main channel, and click here for my Nintendo podcast channel, where me and another Nintendo YouTuber talk Nintendo news every single Saturday. I'll see you all soon. Adios.